Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank you and Ranking Member Foster for holding this very, very timely, important hearing. I want to address my comments about the bank charters declining by approximately 20% in the last 10 years. And, if you look at 2022 statistics, there were about 5,900 banks, commercial banks in the United States compared to today when we look at just under 4,800. So the banks have seen the biggest decline. And to that end, I want to thank our Chairman Barr, his efforts through the legislation that he introduced, H.R. 758, to incentivize de novo formation. And I want to direct my first question to Mr. Reuter. In your written statement, you noted that there has been about, 46.3% decline in de novo formation since 2005. So can you talk about, in your view, what has led to that decline in our financial system?
There's a few major themes. One is the compliance regulatory cost, the cost for technology, and then also the capital that you have to put forward to start the bank. When you put all three of those together, it's very difficult to start a brand new de novo charter.
And quickly, in terms of a regulation that kind of prevents them from doing so?
There are, preparing for this hearing today, I don't think I've ever seen a wider waterfront of new legislation for our industry. It was one of the most challenging hearings I've ever prepared for. So that just tells you how much bigger the burden is today.
We got a lot of work cut out in that field. Mr. Knight, I want to ask you a question. In your testimony, you laid out several examples like the OCC's broad definition of reputational risk and non-binding guidance from regulators as clear disincentives for new financial institutions and innovation to enter the market. So in your testimony, you also call on Congress to engage in more rigorous oversight to curb those onerous regulations. So can you elaborate on your recommendation, and can you touch on other recommendations that are separate from our committee's oversight jurisdiction?
Thank you. So quickly, because I see I'm running out of time, the first step I do believe is vigorous oversight, because before you can truly fix a problem, you need to know the scope and nature. But I do think that we've seen that and I would argue that part of the challenge to our banking regulatory paradigm is that we have regulators who are well, I don't know if they're empowered, but they certainly believe they're empowered, and they certainly feel like they're asked to engage in sort of a micromanagement view to prevent risk and to prevent banks from engaging in unsafe and unsound behavior. But the definition used is so broad that it functionally means almost anything. And while there are some areas where there is at least some objective criteria, like, say, credit risk, where if you have excessive defaults, that's an objective thing. But other things, such as reputational risk, truly becomes in the eye of the beholder. And the risk you get there is that you don't get a government of laws, you get a government of people. And that it's in the eye of the beholder of the line supervisor. And I would recommend the work of Professor Perillo, which I cite in my written testimony, to show that the dynamic where banks truly feel like they are A, bound, and B, they can't challenge it in court, which is where we get a lot of transparency normally.
Thank you. Looks like my time is up. I will yield back, but I would like to submit another question for record.
Without objection.